Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So let me make sure I am up, and I'm seeing green all around, so I am assuming I am up and the world is good. Yes. It's late, I can't sleep, and I was drifting off, and I was thinking about something. This thing of, look, when I started this channel, I didn't start this channel to kind of get into the mire of everyday politics. It kind of just happened. Like, you get into this thing of, you get so focused on the very specific things that come up, and you look at those things from the larger context of politics, of what you want the political apparatus to be. But oftentimes, you don't necessarily get the chance to look at those things in that way. Like, something comes up about this person, you're talking about this person. Something comes up about something else. And in some odd degree, you're always kind of stuck with a mainstream narrative of things. Not a mainstream narrative, but a mainstream of maybe the playing field is what I'm thinking of. Yeah, it's like you're reacting to the mainstream as opposed to doing your own thing. Yes, my channel was always going to be some of that, so it's what it is. It's politics. But there's also this component of it that I really don't want to lose, and that's looking at the larger picture. Because ultimately, what is all this angst, and what is all this tension, and what is all this being pissed about, if you're not going to use it for something substantial and productive? The operative question, honestly, I think the main and only, well, the other questions. Let's say the operative question, however. What do you want to get accomplished? What do you want to do? It's one thing to be a bitch. It's one thing to complain. It's one thing to moan. It's one thing to tear at people and all this other stuff. What do you yourself want to accomplish? It's a fair question. I would argue that anything that you're trying to get done needs to start at that particular basis. For example, there is nothing to make your world this way. There are things, don't get me wrong, there's structural things that people put in place, these kind of conceptual devices that are put in place. That is true. But there is nothing forcing it to be that way. Those things were done by choice. Those things can be undone by choice. All of this is a matter of choice. That's my point. All of this is a matter of choice. There's a certain amount of disunity in the way that we've organized ourselves. People sometimes miss this thing that human beings are malleable creatures. Like, there's nothing forcing human beings to behave a particular way. Human beings act a particular way based upon it. Things that are put in those human beings. So yeah, that particular guy is acting that particular way because that particular society has grown that person to act that particular way. There are ranges and degrees in which that person can respond. There's an aspect of a person that's that person. But it's still within the context of that society that that person is in. It's almost like the range of movement is always tethered to the society that the person is trying to move. All I'm saying is, and I'm going into weeds on this, what's your vision? What do you want to accomplish? The other two parties are bogus, I get it. Republicans are maniacs, Democrats are liars and cheats, and they're full of themselves. Fair enough. Now, the left has gotten to this point of trying to distinguish itself as something separate and distinct from the Democratic Party. At least you have some. You have some who wised up and said, we want to be different. We want somebody to represent us. Fair enough. What do you want? What do you want? Is it just healthcare and college? Certainly you want more than that. Certainly want more than that. What I'm getting at is, the left's issue with a lot of this stuff is get rid of poverty, get rid of, deal with this unemployment thing, deal with infrastructure, deal with et cetera, That's the left. We want a green energy new deal, all those things. The left gets animated and gets pissed off about the climate change issues, the environmental degradation based on our behaviors. They get pissed off at the injustice built into the system itself. Fair enough. But what do you want? Now, you can say, I want to get rid of those things, but that's not enough. That's not enough. Oftentimes, I hear people on the left talk about, we need to pass this tax cut. We need to do this particular thing or that particular thing. completely missing the point that all of this is just a conceptual system. It can be changed. And it is very possible that this particular system itself, just like any other system, that a property of the system creates those inequities. It creates those things that you bitch about. It creates those things that you complain about. Meaning, if a company has a vested interest in making more profit by drilling in the Arctic, that company is going to push hard to drill in the Arctic. It is going to pay off politicians. It is going to pay super PACs. It's going to do whatever it needs to do to get those contracts to go for oil in the Arctic. It has nothing to do with societal issue. It has nothing to do with what's best for the world. It has everything to do with their capacity to make profit. By the way, profit's not real. That's also a conceptual construct. And that is a property of the model itself. Your problem is the model. Your problem is the model. It's the thing that drives these behaviors, not the behaviors themselves. It is logical as logical can be for that particular oil guy to pay off the government in order to get the contracts to drill in the Arctic. He doesn't give a shit about climate change. That's against his self-interest with regards to the model itself. The odd part is, the model is not real. That particular person is willing to let the world go to shit for his own self-interest. The game space, the model to which he is accustomed to, that which he is in, that we're in, tells him that that is the right thing to do, because that is the thing that gets him more profit. It gives him more accolades. We don't care have you made profit in this country. We just care that you have the profit in the first place. If you have it, you're successful. You're a great guy. So yes, lefties may be mad at them, and lefties may have Greenpeace and all this other stuff that goes out to try to attack these things. You never win that attack. You never win that attack. I'm sorry. What you're attacking is a tentacle. It's not the thing itself. That tentacle will grow back. Any gain that you make as a lefty is going to be clawed back the moment, or tried to be clawed back the moment that you make that gain. The game is rigged. And you're fighting on this playing field from their perspective of the world. I'm saying their perspective of the world is not given by God. That's a perspective. It's just a perspective. The military, the police force, all those things back that particular perspective. Those people are bribed off to be savages. They have a moral compass that allows them to be savages, so that's what they do. But this is not created by God. This is a man-made creation. That's all I'm saying. It can be changed. Any lefty that gets in office is going to come to a point and he's going to realize, how far do I want to go with trying to get this stuff done? You're going to hit that wall. You're going to hit the wall. And when you hit that wall, you're going to have to ask yourself a question. Am I willing to go after the levers that are driving this particular inequality? Are you willing to do it? Are you willing to challenge the model itself? To whatever degree you're going to challenge the model, whether it's incrementally or otherwise, are you willing to challenge the model? Because nothing else takes place as long as that model is in effect. So if you believe in climate change, are you going to privatize the energy markets? Do you honestly believe that somebody in the energy market will give two shits about the global impact of their particular behavior, as opposed to trying to maximize their profits? Are you going to nationalize the energy markets? How else are you going to get control of those markets to prevent those people from doing things that are adversely affecting our environment and our climate? If you push for a green energy new deal, how much are you going to push for that? How intensely are you going to push for it? And are you going to be constrained by this thing of cash? I'm trying to make this point that if you're going to do something, you need to do it and it needs to work. And if you're doing it purely for show, purely because I'm doing this green energy new deal, but I know it's in no way it's going to be effective, then what's the point of the green energy new deal? Policy is taken because policy works. You're doing it because you want it to actually be effective. You want it to actually work. None of this half-ass stuff that you get from Democrats. Represent your interests, represent that base. And understands that property of the model itself drives the gross inequities in the model. This is not this, we're at this capitalistic stage and we've reached the pinnacle of our society. You haven't reached the pinnacle of your society if you have that many people impoverished around the world. You failed as a society. I'm sorry. You have certain problems to solve. So, for example, with all of this stuff being automated, you understand that the more things are automated, the less influence workers will have. The more jobs are shipped overseas, the less influence workers have. Your unions have been decimated. Your unions have been decimated. And if the lefties get in office and the best thing that they think about is we need more unions, without ever really addressing why were unions decimated in the first place. This is not this kind of bug in the system. It's an aspect of the system itself. You have people who are antagonistic towards one another built into the model. You have one side that tries to advantage itself at the expense of the other side built into the model. If you get in office, are you going to touch the model itself? And do you honestly believe that the issues that avail the society can be dealt with purely within the context of the model? I personally do not think so. And look, don't take the last 50 years. Take the last 50 years. Why did we need a New Deal? Take the years before the New Deal. I mean, it's the New Deal was a blip. The New Deal was a blip. It was the government itself all of a sudden becoming accountable. Yes, it was pushed to be accountable in this way, and you had somebody who was receptive to it, but that was a blip. You look over the context, or look over the entirety of the United States, that was a blip. There is an animated left that is attempting to reinvigorate that blip. I'm saying, though, you need to go beyond the blip. You need to go beyond the blip. The problem is the system itself. The system itself will try to claw back any and all gains that you make, meaning you're going to need a new deal in another 50 years. Change the model. Go after the model. I'm not saying be this whole hog, we're going to destroy capitalism. I'm not saying that. Don't say that at all. In fact, stay away from saying that in this country. I am saying, however, do things that undermine the way the model functions. Yes, I am saying that. I am saying take chunks out of that particular model. One policy after the next. Worker co-ops is an awesome way to do that. That's an awesome way to do that. This idea of, all right, we need to do something about jobs. We need to put more money in the hand of workers. Hey, I know. Instead of trying to reinvigorate unions where you have this maintains this antagonistic relationship between the bosses and the workers, just get rid of the elites. Get rid of the bosses. The workers can run their own company. Love that idea. Love the idea. Absolutely love the idea. That goes beyond unions, by the way. That goes beyond unions. A, workers are making more money, and B, those workers are not going to export their own jobs. And go further. But the thing is, what is your vision? It's almost like you need to define what you want in this way. At the very least, define it to yourself. What do I want this world to look like? And if I want this world to look like a particular thing, work from the point of what you want the world to look like. At that point, it becomes a puzzle. How do you do it? How do you arrange human society in a way that gets the world to be the thing that you want it to be? And understand, you may say human beings have a fixed, it's just the way human beings are. It's the way human beings are in this particular system. Human beings are not this kind of thing that functions in a void. You always have a system associated with the way we interact with one another. Meaning, any analysis of the human being itself has to take into account the system itself that human being is functioning in. He's not functioning in a void. It's not like functioning in the midst of space. He's doing things. And there are things that were put into that particular person. That person, however that person is responding and interacting with the information that his society is giving him. It's almost like a data stream. Yeah. And one last point. Let's talk about balance for the moment. Anytime you talk about stuff like this, it's this kind of this rebellious streak of sorts. The issue of balance comes up. The issue of balance is like, it sounds like you're talking about a revolution. If the top 1% owns the majority of the companies, I think it's some massive amount that they own, like 1% of the stock market, or 1% owns so much of the stock market and the financial stuff. If you're trying to get a fairer and better world, how are you going to do it with these guys holding the levers to that much influence, to that much power? That's a fair question to answer. How are you going to do it? Now, having workers take over the means of production as in the wolf thing. It's like this kind of war of attrition of sorts, where one company after the next slides over to this idea of worker co-ops. Is that going to get you, how can I say this? I don't want to sound bad with this. Yeah, I don't want to sound bad with this because that sounds pretty brutal. But how are you going to deal with that? Like, whatever candidate, whatever politician, you're in a situation where all of these services, all of these things are owned by a very small number of people. And if you're talking about a fair society and a more just society, how are you going to deal with that? Now, I would make this case, and I don't make the case of violence. I always say grab your pitchforks, but I mean that to be, get across your anger in a way that's specific to the context that you're trying to get across. Like, if a particular politician is potentially going to vote on a bill in your particular district that's going to do something ghastly and heinous and against his value system, or against his espoused value system as a particular candidate, yeah, you should get that across. You should get that across. Whether it's through organizations, whether it's through calling, whether it's through whatever, you should get it across. Just mean express your discontent. But I want to draw attention to violence in our particular society. Like this idea between explicit versus implicit violence. So, for some reason I feel uncomfortable talking about this. Let's be blunt. Let's be brutal. Let's just be vulgar in the way we talk about it. Our system, for the most part, has a certain amount of violence associated with the way we interact with people, whether it's cops just outright murdering the civilians, whether it's somebody not necessarily having access to the things they need. I'm saying poverty in this case. Both of those things are violence. It's more implicit in the society itself because it makes it as if that particular individual failed to do something, that particular individual had all of these choices, and that particular person is alone in its own failure. I'm saying if you have 50% of the population that's in poverty, that's not the failure of the individual, that's the failure of your society. That's what I'm saying. Now, and I'm also saying that that's a certain degree of violence. A person not having the capacity to get his needs met is violence. That's violence. I'm sorry, it is. It's structural. It is implicit. It is something that's built into the system itself. The society that throws people away into cages because he can't necessarily deal with his own economic opportunities. This country has vast resources. It shows to divert those resources to a very small minority of people in this country and in this world. And in doing so, created havoc throughout a particular society. I would make the case that the society itself gets mad at overt violence. This guy sticks somebody up. This guy hurts somebody. These people are angry and these people are rioting. These people are protesting. These people are pissed off. It doesn't like that kind of violence. It wags its finger at that violence. It says nothing about the structural violence that's built into society itself. If people got to the point where they thought to themselves, oh my God, the world is on fire, meaning in the things that the politicians are allowing to pass, the world is, the habitable zone of this planet is being eaten alive. Oh my God, we're at risk, we're at threat. Oh my God, all of these people are in cages, all of these people are in poverty. This country needs to change. It depends on your definition of violence. It really does. And I'm saying that media, politicians give an immense pass to statistical violence. Like you have like 100,000 people who die because of healthcare each year in this country. It's amazing. That's amazing. That gets passed. And don't quote me on the number. The number may be off, but it's tens of thousands of people die because of healthcare coverage in this country. That violence is not paid attention to. That violence is completely ignored. You have a bunch of people who get angry and protest because some injustice is done to them. Oh, we don't like that. We don't like that. We don't like that at all. All I'm saying is, a decision needs to be made by the left, regardless of what the left is. And part of that decision needs to be, how are you going to get the world that you want? What does that world look like? And if you want to get rid of all of these issues, all right, work back from that particular point. How do you get to that place? Define who you are and be specific in that definition. And I mean specific. Because this sketchy politics of subjectivity where a person will say something will mean something completely different. That needs to pass. It needs to pass. There needs to be a new standard in regards to what people say and how they can be defined by what they say. So, alright, let's see. James Wilkinson, good morning. Yeah, James, good morning. This one is not going to be long. Divert and conquer. James, yes. Yes. Like our Governor Jerry Brownstains. Fuck him. James Wilkinson, sellout. That was what Occupy was all about. That is what Occupy was all about. It is what Occupy was all about. But Occupy, fucking lefties, looked at this and said, we want a decentralized structure. Fuck the decentralized structure. Your job is to get shit done, not to be this kind of hippie kumbaya moment. No, it's nothing to do with it. Bucky Fuller's yes. World Game. James Wilkinson, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Timothy Young, so glad I don't celebrate Christmas. Yeah, celebrate Christmas. Well, celebrate is too strong. I'm stuck with a family that does, and so I'm stuck doing it myself. Carrie Holder, let's share the money with each other and give money if you need it to give Christmas gifts, and always the right color and right size. Peace. Feels nice. David Von Kettering, I want to burn you log, but I have no fireplace. Tomosa Young, thank you, Hallmark. Tomosa Young, fuck you, Hallmark. That's funny. That's funny. I'm getting high all day on Thanksgiving and waiting for leftovers to be delivered. That's awesome. I have to credit Holly Schuyler with the divert comment. Yeah, I wrote that in my video. That was Hillary Clinton said that that's what Republicans like to do in order to not necessarily deal with an issue. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Are you saying that that's the way you believe that society is rigged in this way? Well, she was saying that the media, if you do that, the media would give you a free pass. That's what she was saying. It's in the article. I'm an atheist who loves to celebrate Christmas with my kids, warrior waitress. Yeah, same here. Well, I'm an atheist, but I do like Christmas. Even if it's, you know, ridiculous and all this other stuff. I do like the sentiment of giving. I think, of course, corporate America is going to say, oh, we can monetize that. We can monetize that. But I do like the spirit of it. I do like the spirit of it. Christmas could be every day if you want it to be. That feeling is not real. That feeling is purely generated by you and your society. The way you feel like when you get up to go to work every day, that's not the way the world needs to be. It could be different. It could be different. Yes, I'm being somewhat utopian, but that could be different. Alright, I am going to end this. I am getting tired, and it's like 1:30 in the morning. Just, if someone gets through this video, definitely answer the question, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want the world to look like? And the secondary question of, how do you get to that place? How do you get to that place? And by the way, can you get there without something massive, fucking bad happening? So I will leave it at that. Alright guys, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon. Thanks guys.